Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Drums and Drams. My name's Cameron, and today I'm gonna be taking a look at the brand new Green River Full Proof Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, bottled at 117.3 proof or 58.65% ABV. And if you find this for the right price, it should run you about 50 bucks. Now, I've already sort of reviewed this product once, but not on this channel, actually over on the Bourbon Junkies. When I was visiting Dan and Sean up at Evernorth about a week ago, we did shoot a combined review of this bottle. I don't think it's out yet, at least at the time that I'm filming this video, but keep your eyes peeled for that one. But whenever I do film with other people, I always feel like I didn't do a good job, I didn't contribute enough, and I get just uptight and in my head about it. So on my way home that day, I was driving from their place in Michigan through Ann Arbor, where I stopped off, down to Columbus where I live, and I found this for 50 bucks. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna pick it up, I'm gonna make myself feel a little better, hopefully shoot my own review and do a better job. And so that's what we're doing in this video. I'm gonna kind of get into the weeds, give you guys some tasting notes on this product. I do have a little bit to say about where this fits into the market, the price point. We'll get more into that as we go in this review, but it's time now to check this thing out on the nose and see what we get. All right, so this is a really interesting nose for a Kentucky bourbon for me. So I do get some classic notes, right? You get kind of a rare breed-esque cinnamon. So it's very, very intense, cinnamon forward. You get a nice kind of middle of the road caramel note. There is some graininess at play here. So you can kind of smell some youth. I think this is a blend of between 5 and 7 year barrels, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong. So you would expect like some youth to show through, and it does. It has this kind of textured corn grain element to the nose. But the fruit notes in here are what really interest me. And I've had a few different Green River single barrel picks up to this point. Some of them are really, really dark, like super dark blackberry and leathery kind of profiles. And others have been just a little bit lighter. But the commonality between all of those picks is that they're very, very fruity. This is no different, this Full Proof. While I do think it has more youth than some of the picks that I've tasted, which you would probably expect given the fact that this is a blend of a lot of different barrels, it actually also has a little bit more bright fruit notes as well. So what I get out of the glass here is I don't think this is something I've ever gotten on one of their single barrel picks. Yeah, it's like this grapefruit, cantaloupe, watermelon, like bright melon, almost like pseudo tropical fruit notes. So that's really not like a classic Kentucky bourbon thing for me. So like I'm trying to put this together now. I'm thinking out loud, right? It has these classic Kentucky elements, which I said, cinnamon, caramels, this corn grain, this little bit of youth, but then these non-traditional elements of these brighter fruits. Whereas I feel like when I'm considering standard Kentucky bourbon notes, I'm more like cherry, grape, dark fruit. This is brighter melon, citrus, tropical. That is very interesting, and I think for me it totally differentiates this product when I think about other $50 barrel proofers or just $50 like legacy bottles on the shelf. Rare Breed, Four Roses single barrel, which is 100 proof. Small Batch Select from Four Roses is a little higher price, probably around 60. So I think this definitely differentiates itself just purely on the nose. So I do like that aspect to it. Just below all of these kind of notes, I am picking up on kind of a floral blackberry note. And this is something that I've really come to love from Green River products, particularly those single barrel picks. When you find a great barrel, I think there's a ton of this like rich blackberry. This one has a little more floral character. And you know what? There's actually a little bit of a coffee note in the background here. So it's not super oaky and super aged feeling, but it has this kind of coffee bitterness and a little bit of a fresh leather note too. I think all in all, I really like this for 50 bucks. It's not perfect. You should never expect, in my mind, like a barrel proofer at 50 bucks, widely available. You should never really expect that to be a perfect product. It's gonna have its rough edges. This certainly does, but even with those rough edges, I think it's super, super competitive in today's market. So on the palate now, cheers. Oh man, this is so juicy and spicy and fresh. I love just how summery and yeah, spring or summertime. It's got that kind of outdoorsy freshness, bright fruit notes. Yeah, it just feels lively on the palate. Yes, it does still carry some of those youthful grain notes. It has a little bit of that textured corn thing on the palate too, and I'm actually getting some like grainy vanilla notes as well. But I'm totally willing to look past that because other comparable products on the market also have those notes. Again, keeping everything in perspective at the price, I think this is a really, really good value. The fullness of the profile, how lively it is, how fresh it feels, and those fruit notes. I think this is really, really outstanding stuff. So let's go back in for a second sip now. On the second sip, it does start to get a little bit darker for me. As my palate acclimates to a lot of those bright melon, citrusy kind of fruit notes, tropical almost, I'm now getting into more of like a richer caramel, a richer cherry, a little bit more, yeah, let's say this, a little more classic now on the palate. One note in here that I think is throwing me for a loop is like this grapefruit thing. The reason I say that is because Old Grandad 114 from like the 80s, old school National Distiller stuff, is a very dark butterscotchy kind of whiskey and tons of coffee notes, but it also has this grapefruit element that I never could pick up on. Sarah, my wife, actually called it out for me, and that's how I was able to kind of start learning to pick up that note. But those old National Distillers bottles have kind of this grapefruit thing to them. And I'm not here to overhype and compare this Green River Foolproof to like old National Distiller stuff. It's not similar to it. But that one grapefruit note on the finish here in particular really, really lingers on the finish. That reminds me a lot of that Old Grandad 114. So it's just very, very cool whiskey. It's super different. And I think that's a really good thing when you enter a saturated market at this price point. You want something that's going to differentiate itself. I think this does just that. So for me, listen, this is a super highly recommended product in my mind. I think absolutely if you find this at 50 bucks, you should pick one up. Understand that you're not going to get something that's fully rounded out. It's gonna have a little youthful zippiness to it on the nose and on the palate, but I think that's okay. And if you like rare breed, if you like that Four Roses single barrel at 100 proof and those more cinnamon forward and floral profiles, you don't mind a little brightness to the profile, this is gonna be right up your alley. So that's gonna do it, guys. Let me know in the comment section what you think of this Green River Foolproof. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you think of this one. Check out the Patreon for some barrel picks and exclusive content, and that's gonna do it. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you soon here on Drums and Drams.